So I want to talk about a few things. You know, most of the function in the body is silent. The most silent thing is your blood flow. Now, you could um, right now be on a verge of a heart attack and you wouldn't know it. You could be just before a stroke and you wouldn't know it. And on the other end, you may be around 50 years from now in a pretty good health. And the difference is how your blood flows. 1 out of every 8 people in the world, hear me well, 1 billion people have problems with their blood pressure. It's either too high or too low. And there are less problems with low blood pressure, although I've seen them all. I mean, people all of a sudden faint, lose consciousness, and not enough blood flows to different areas of the body. But the biggest problems are with high blood pressure. The main known problems, of course, is cardiac arrest, heart attacks, and strokes. The problems I'm working with more than those, although I also work on many circulatory problems, are vision problems related to poor blood flow. And the two main culprits are high blood pressure or diabetes. And both of them leads to more or less the same result of bleeding in the retina. In my opinion, glaucoma results from that and many other problems. So I want to talk first of all about low blood pressure. What should we do about it? It may sound like something that most people don't want to do, but I recommend for people with low blood pressure to take several cold showers. Now, in this time in the world, except the world I live in, which is in San Francisco, which is a cold place, but almost everywhere in the northern hemisphere of the world, people have heat waves and it's hot. So it's no problem. So in a hot day like this, it's good to take once a day hot and cold shower just to bring the polarities to expand the muscles and relax them and to take away inflammation. But it's good at the same time to take 4 or 5 short cold showers. Just jump in for a minute, even 45 seconds, make sure the whole body cools, and then jump out. It's also very good for the eyes if we lie down and we put a cold towel around the eyes. It's also very good for the neck if we put something cold under the neck 4 or 5 times a day. That makes more difference than you could imagine, and it can prevent you from needing medical care, actually, and can prevent you from many other problems. Now, high blood pressure is a whole different story. Again, I recommend in days like today to take cold showers. But I want to tell you that anyone who has a tendency for high blood pressure, like I do, it's very mandatory that you would walk at least 4, if not 5 times a week. Today I walked in the park. A few days ago when it was warmer, I was walking and running on the beach. It's much nicer. But I think walking becomes very, very important, no matter what weight groups you're in. And the important thing is that when we walk, that we will not only walk in one way. So walking forwards, we have to make sure that we walk heel to toe. I have a very small space here in this room to show it. You can see that. So heel to toe when we walk forwards. And then we can walk backwards and it not naturally becomes toe to heel. Toe to heel. So when I walk forwards, it's always heel to toe. And put it here, yeah. And when I walk backwards, it's always toe to heel. And then there is sideways walk. where we basically curve the foot from side to side. This is so good for the back and for the legs. So a nice exercise for us will be everybody walk forwards, heel to toe, in your room. Now walk backwards. And then walk forwards again, heel to toe. And then walk backwards. I'll give this to you. Thank you. So, again, run forwards, run backwards, run forwards, heel to toe, run backwards. And again, run forwards, run backwards. And you can do the same thing sideways. Sideways. Now, it's hard for me to show it easily in the small room we have here. I mean, it's not that small, but relatively. In our classroom, it's easier. And of course, on the beach, which is the biggest room we have in our place, is the easiest to go sideways like this. And when you walk, you think as if the floor is like a trampoline. It's like, as you walk, you think like the floor pushes you back. So in fact, what I want you to do is make something easier. So if you start to feel your relationship to the floor, and as you walk, you feel like the floor also pushes you forwards and backwards, right? And the floor also pushes you sideways. Makes a huge difference because many of us feel kind of heavy as we walk, and we could actually feel very light as we walk, but we feel heavy often throughout the day. So this is one good exercise, but then I want to show you another one. Anyway, let's put it this way. To reduce blood pressure, we have to make sure that the blood flows to our hands and our feet, because cold hands and feet is one of the main things that shows you about poor blood pressure. So first of all, open and close your hands. Second of all, stomp on your legs, right? So basically, you want to bring blood to your feet, then there is less of a work for the heart. I mean, the whole thing is that the pressure against the heart is so high that at the end of the day, what happens as a result of that pressure is that the heart fails. The pressure is so high that not enough blood gets pushed to places. So opening and closing your hands, stamping is very important. So now, lifting the arms one by one against the wall, opposite than the legs, and doing it quickly. That's a fantastic thing to do. Fantastic thing to do. So we can just lift it up and down as quickly as we can, and let's count 30 of those, right? And as quickly as we can. And by the way, don't stop breathing. Yeah. So that's a very important thing for me to tell to all of you, that you want to push your blood to your hands and feet. So to talk more about that, I would say that we should have some good signs and symptoms for our blood flow. Again, we don't know whether the blood flows well or not. It is silent. But there's some things that we can know in our life without any instrument that shows us what happens to the blood. One, if you feel fatigued, it means your blood doesn't flow well. So taking away fatigue in natural way, not with coffee or ice cream or stimulant, but taking away fatigue in different ways, with whether it is rest or whether it is a nice physical activity. Well, that's a fantastic thing for you. So that's number one. Number two, you could feel very rigid. And to some extent, it's objective. If you cannot bend down and touch the floor, you're rigid. But feeling rigid is also very subjective. You could have a teacher of yoga who can put her two legs behind her head. The best I've done is in the past, when I was in my 20s and 30s, putting one leg behind my head. But you can put two legs behind your head, but today you're a bit more rigid. That means today, in this minute, the blood doesn't flow so well. You could be an arthritic client who can hardly bend and touch his or her knees. But today you can actually go a little bit beyond your knees and still you look very rigid, comparing to that a very flexible yoga teacher, and still your blood flows well right now. So being loose relatively to yourself means you allow much better channels of circulation in your body. And if your shoulders and hip joints are stiff, it means your blood doesn't flow well. If your hands and feet are cold, often it means the blood doesn't flow well. That goes together, by the way. Loosening the hip joints and loosening the shoulders allows the blood to flow much, much better. So just be aware of the fact that sometimes rest is better than exercise. So for example, if you have a long day, instead of loading yourself with more exercises, lying down for 10 minutes, closing your eyes, and even having 1 minute of sleep would take away fatigue that would build up throughout the day. So whatever gets your hands and feet warmer, and nose, I would say, and whatever makes you lighter and more flexible is what helps your blood to flow better. And that's why it's so important to address it, because half of the people die from cardiovascular problems. And if you ask me, about 30 years before they should. We should really find a way to prevent that. And there is no formula except following our circulation, sensing what circulation helps us.